More from Didi's diary. 28th May, 1952. At the special request of Sri Durga, Raja Sahib of Solon, Mataji returned from Jacko Hills of Simla to Solon today. In the evening, something remarkable occurred that is worth recording. One of the brahmacharis of our ashram had a talk with Mataji about his sadhana. Immediately afterwards, Mataji called me. Just imagine, Didi, what a strange thing has just happened. The brahmachari, although a disciple of Sri Devi Giriji, asked this body what the object of his contemplation should be. To start with, this body had the divine insight to tell him he should proceed as he had been instructed at the time of his initiation. He also explained clearly what kind of japa he was practicing. All of a sudden, I saw in that corner of the couch, Mataji indicated the side where she usually keeps her head while lying, that the figure of a person who, with his raised hand, pointed to that spot. He did so once. While talking, I kept on casting glances at him. Once again, he distinctly pointed to the same spot. Then Mataji laughed heartily, and she added, "Who can tell? Perhaps he was drawing attention to your room, Didi." At the time, I also joined in the laughter and said, "How very nice. No doubt he must have pointed to me. But what was the figure like?" With a smile, Mataji replied, "He looked like the charioteer of Partha, that is, Sri Krishna, as described as the charioteer in Partha is Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He wore that kind of dress. He stood up very straight, and with his long arm that reached down to his knees, he pointed in that direction. Think of it. At first, it did not strike me, but later it became clear that he appeared exactly in the place where the Srimad Bhagavat is being kept. The brahmachari was called, and in Mataji's presence, I told him all about the strange incident. He responded by saying, "Oh yes, I did notice that while talking. Mataji seemed, as it were, to have been preoccupied with other thoughts. The atmosphere here in the room also became enchanted. As she spoke to me, Mataji's eyes twice wandered in that direction, but I could not see anything at all." Without uttering a word, Mataji listened to our conversation and smiled gently. I then told the brahmachari, "It is well known that Mataji does not always explain clearly what happens. There can, however, not be the shadow of a doubt that today Sri Krishna himself has appeared and indicated to you by his gesture to contemplate Mataji as she is on that picture." Finally, Mataji said to the brahmachari, "At any rate, you should do one thing. Whenever you sit down for your meditation, first of all concentrate on that form of Sri Krishna, and then after doing obeisance to him, contemplate whatever else it may be. For he himself has come today in that form to intimate to you what to do. This is why you should start your meditation by thinking of Krishna." 3rd June, 1952. In the course of conversation, Mataji related something that had happened long, long ago. At the time, Mataji and Baiji, who was her early attendant, were staying in the vicinity of Dehradun. One day they went on foot to Uttarkashi. While trudging up a mountain path, Baiji felt exhausted due to extreme hunger and thirst. Only with great difficulty did he continue to walk. They were surrounded by mountains and dense forests, and there was not even a trace of human habitation. Suddenly, as if happening by Mataji's mere khayal or divine insight, they saw a small boy walking straight towards them. It was carrying a large earthen vessel of milk boiled that becomes solid, and it's like a kind of fresh cheese. How miraculous! After partaking of the kawa and drinking some water from the spring, Baiji felt much better. Later, he told Mataji that he had never before eaten such wonderfully tasty kawa. Now to another strange incident. Once when walking with Mataji near Dehradun on a hot day, Baiji felt exceedingly thirsty. Mataji too would have welcomed a drink of water, but at a moment's notice she did no longer feel like drinking, and simultaneously Baiji's inordinate thirst seemed quenched as well. Mataji said to Baiji, "Atal has offered some watermelon, and this is how our thirst has been slaked." At that time, Atal Dada was hundreds of miles away in far-off Bengal. Baiji made a note of the date and hour and later wrote to Atal Dada inquiring about the matter. He got the reply that since it was an exceptionally hot day, he had at that very hour offered some melon sherbet to Mataji's picture. Is there a limit to the variety of Mataji's Leela? Hundreds of similar incidents occur at all times. How few of them come to our notice, and how much of those that do come are we capable of understanding? Kali was the presiding deity of Bholanath's family. Bholanath was Anandamayi Ma's spiritual husband. To perform Kali Puja every year was therefore their family tradition. Bholanath and his brothers had to move from place to place on account of their various professions, for which it was not always possible for them to get together, even for the annual puja. The brothers therefore agreed to take turns in performing the puja. According to this arrangement, Bholanath had once performed the puja while he stayed in Bajipur. Some miraculous incidents had taken place during that puja. Mataji was not very widely known at the time, which explains why the knowledge of those supernatural occurrences remained confined to a few people only. After coming to the Shahbag Gardens, Mataji, at the request of Bholanath and others, performed the Kali Puja in the year 1925. This was the first time that Mataji had publicly performed a puja with physical accessories. A year passed, and again the time for the annual Kali Puja drew near. This year had brought about many changes in the mode of her life. Firstly, she had become very widely known, and the Shahbag Gardens was teeming with crowds every day. Secondly, she herself had begun to move freely amongst people. Moreover, in spite of frequent still states of samadhi and bhava, or divine ecstasies, her behavior was gradually getting nearer to the ordinary, so that she was becoming approachable to people. Thus, when a few days before the puja, Bholanath requested her to perform it, she expressed her unwillingness, saying, "Do not request me to do these things any more. You can see for yourself that I am unable to perform any work." Seeing Mataji's unwillingness and that it was not his turn to perform the family puja, Bholanath dropped the idea altogether. A few days later, Mataji was going to Didi's house for Boga. On the way inside the carriage, she suddenly raised her hand and seemed to be looking at something. Later on, when she sat down for her meal, she again raised her arm in exactly the same manner and at once appeared as if she was far removed from her immediate surroundings. Just one day before the Kali Puja, when Mataji and Bholanath had retired for the night, she asked him, "What was Bhudev Babu talking to you about?" Bholanath was surprised because that afternoon Babu had asked him to request Mataji to perform the puja. Bholanath had declined, telling him of Mataji's unwillingness, and everyone had gone away disappointed that there would be no puja that year. Mataji had not met Babu, and of course, after Bholanath's refusal, nobody had dared to request her again. Therefore, Bholanath was amazed at her question when he told her of his conversation with Babu. Mataji said, "Why don't you perform the puja yourself?" Interpreting this as her sanction for the puja, Bholanath immediately went outside and conveyed the good news to Babu and Suren and some of the other devotees and admirers of Mataji during her time in Dhaka. As only one day remained to prepare for the puja, the image had to be fetched that very night and all arrangements expedited. Now the question arose as to the size of the image. Bholanath went to ask Mataji. He found her lying on the floor in a state of deep samadhi. She was unable to speak, and his question remained unanswered. Here was an unexpected obstacle. Then it suddenly occurred to Bholanath that the image should be as high as Mataji had lifted her arm while in the carriage and in Didi's house. He then somehow managed to tilt up her body to sitting posture and held up her arm. The distance from the ground to her uplifted hand measured about 40 inches. Babu and others then went down to town to procure an image of this size. They found that all the images had been sold out and that the only one artist had a single image left. Strangely and luckily, it turned out to be of the exact size, although the color was a little unusual, being more bluish than black. When Mataji saw the image, she said that on the way to Didi's house, she had seen a Kali Murti of this very size and hue rushing down from above as if to leap into her arms. She had again seen this image at Didi's house. Kali was wearing a large garland of bright red hibiscus flowers, and there was no Shiva under her feet. The arrangements for the puja proceeded in full swing. Shahbag was crowded with people. Midnight drew near. There was not an inch of space in the puja room. Mataji was in her own room, sitting in a state of deep bhava, immovable and remote with fixed and unseen eyes, oblivious of her surroundings. Bholanath somehow managed to guide her steps to the pond, helped her to take a bath, and changed into a new sari. He then brought her back and seated her in front of the image. In the nearby room, people were singing kirtan. The atmosphere was fragrant with the scent of flowers and incense, and the puja was performed with due rites.